Hello everyone, welcome to Gate Forum. This is DMV Prasad. So now we are going to discuss electrical missions. So there are different missions we have to discuss, both AC missions and DC missions we have to completely discuss. So before entering into the synchronous missions, first of all we will start our discussion with synchronous missions. We will see what are the missions and based on what they have categorized and how we are going to discuss everything. So in a power system, a single line diagram of a power system consisting of a generator and a transformer and a transmission line and one more transformer and the load. Load may be the motor. So this is the generator and this is the transformer and this is the transmission line and this is one more transformer. Now the missions which comes under generator category, right? So there are different types of generators, both AC generators and DC generators, right? So there are DC generators and AC generators. AC generators are two. One is synchronous generator and induction generator. So these are the generators we are having and only one transformer, and later on we have the loads. So loads are the motors. So we are having DC motors and AC motors. DC motors and AC motors. So there are two types of AC motors. One is synchronous motor and induction motor. So these are the topics we are having. So we have to discuss about all these machines. So DC generator and DC motor, and synchronous generator, synchronous motor, induction generator and induction motor, and the transformer, right? Now the DC generator, as the name suggests, all these are the generators. This generator always delivers the active power. So any machine which delivers the active power is a generator. Any machine which absorbs the active power is a motor. So that all these machines always delivers the active power and all these machines always absorbs the active power. So which means DC generator always delivers the active power and synchronous generator always delivers the active power. Induction generator always delivers the active power. Similarly, DC motor always absorbs the active power, synchronous motor absorbs the active power, and induction motor absorbs the active power. So in terms of active power, and whereas in terms of reactive power, DC generator does not have any reactive power, so that Q delivered will be equivalent to 0. So that it unable to deliver or it is unable to absorb any amount of reactive power. Why? Because it is a DC machine, right? And whereas induction generator is unable to deliver any amount of reactive power, it always absorbs the reactive power, so that it always absorbs the reactive power. It never delivers the reactive power. So I will discuss while discussing about the induction machines. So induction machine always needs we have to create the rotating magnetic field. To create the rotating magnetic field, even though it is a generator, it needs some three-phase supply. So even though it is a generator, we have to give it a three-phase supply to the induction generator to create the rotating magnetic field. Right? And synchronous generator, the greatest advantage of synchronous generator, it can deliver or it can absorb. So it can deliver or it can absorb. Right? So the only machine, the only generator in the universe which can deliver the reactive power is the synchronous generator, and which can absorb the reactive power. It can also absorb the reactive power, right? And the DC motor cannot absorb the reactive power. Why? Because as it is a DC machine, and whereas an induction motor always absorb the reactive power. The induction motor always absorbs the reactor. The induction machine, it may be generator or it may be motor, it always absorbs the reactive power. So it may be generator or it may be motor, it always absorbs the reactive power. And the synchronous motor, the greatest motor in terms of reactive power, it can absorb the reactive power or it can deliver the reactive power. It can absorb the reactive power or it can deliver the reactive power. So that the synchronous machines, it may be generator or motor, they can deliver the reactive power or they can absorb the reactive power. So see here, at which condition the synchronous generator can deliver the reactive power? The synchronous generator can deliver the reactive power at lagging power factor, and it can absorb the reactive power at leading power factor. Leading power factor. So lagging power factor means it is over excited and it is under excited. So whenever a synchronous generator operating under lagging power factor condition, it can deliver the reactive power. Whenever a synchronous generator operating under leading power factor condition, it can absorb the reactive power. And whereas a synchronous motor, when it is under excited, it can absorb the reactive power. When it is over excited, it can deliver the reactive power. So an over excited synchronous motor always delivers the reactive power, and an under excited synchronous motor always absorbs the reactive power. So that it is acting as a capacitor and it is acting as a inductor, right? So this is the category based on the active power and reactive power, right? So this is one of the major important category. And the transformer always, so in terms of losses, it can absorb small amount of active power and reactive power, right? So P absorb and Q also absorbs. So it acts as a load for that generator. These are the losses. So it approximately equivalent to 0 and it is also approximately equivalent to 0. Why? Because the transformer efficiency is very good. So approximately it is 97 to 99%. So active power absorbed and reactive power absorbed by the transformer is very less. And for the line also, so it is greatly modeled as always modeled as a inductor. So why? Because the transmission line resistance always will neglect the resistance compared to the reactance. So that it always absorbs the active power, but it is approximately equivalent to 0, but it always absorbs the reactive power for a transmission line, right? So the transmission line discussion should be done in the power system category, but we will discuss about the generators, transformers and the motors in this session, right? Now according to this category, the greatest generator, so the greatest generator which can deliver both active power and reactive power is the synchronous generator. So it is the most important one, and the greatest motor in terms of construction and in terms of cost, right, and in terms of working process, everything, it will be induction motor. It is not the synchronous motor, it is the induction motor. Why? Because a squirrel cage induction motor construction is very simple, right, and 99% of the loads, so in the universe, are the induction machines, are the induction motors, right? So synchronous motor has separate applications. So because it is somewhat costly than that of the induction motor, so that only because of the cost we are preferring the induction motor, and because of the construction also, the construction of the induction motor is very simple than that of the synchronous motor. But it is having the advantage that it can improve the power factor of the induction motor whenever the induction motor is operating under very poor power factor condition. So we are going to use the synchronous motor. So that synchronous generator and synchronous motors are playing a very important role in the power system. So we have taken the single line diagram of the power system. So in the entire power system, so the best generator, the generator in the power system is nothing but the synchronous generator. The motor in the power system is nothing but the induction motor. And sometimes we will take the synchronous motor also based on the application of the system, right? So first of all, we will discuss about the simple loop generator. So we are discussing about the synchronous missions. So first of all, we will discuss about the synchronous generator, and then later on we will move to the synchronous motor category. Alright. So first of all, we will discuss about the simple loop generator. How can we create a generator? Right. So while moving into the simple loop generator, so we will see the operating principle of the synchronous generator. Operating principle. So the operating principle is always based on the Faraday's laws of electromagnetic induction. It is based on Faraday's laws of electromagnetic induction. Faraday's laws of electromagnetic induction. So we will see the Faraday's laws. First one, Faraday's first law. So whenever a conductor cuts the time varying or space varying magnetic field, whenever a conductor cuts the time varying or space varying magnetic field, then an EMF will be induced in the conductor. An EMF will be induced in the conductor. So whenever a conductor cuts the magnetic field, so it may be time varying magnetic field, so that means alternating magnetic field, or it is space varying magnetic field, is nothing but the rotating magnetic field, right? So whenever a conductor cuts the rotating magnetic field or the alternating magnetic field, so then an EMF will be induced in the conductor. That's the Faraday's first law, right? So to induce the EMF, so not only stationary conductor is cutting the rotating magnetic field, so we can make a rotating conductor which can cut the stationary flux, right? Or whenever a rotating conductor cuts the stationary magnetic field, then an EMF will be induced in the conductor. Then an EMF will be induced in the conductor. Now the conductor is rotating, the field is stationary, right? So this principle is particularly used in the AC missions, so that is in the induction missions and the synchronous missions, and this principle is particularly used in the DC missions. And in this one, whenever a conductor cuts the time varying magnetic field, so time varying magnetic field means it is not at all rotating here, so it is varying with respect to time, that is alternating magnetic field, and conductor is stationary, field is also stationary, but it is varying with respect to time, that is used in the transformer, right? So whenever a conductor cuts the time varying magnetic field, an EMF will be induced in the conductor, that is used in the transformer. Whenever a conductor cuts the space varying magnetic field, so EMF will be induced in the conductor, that is used in the induction missions and the synchronous missions. right? And whenever a rotating conductor cuts the stationary magnetic field, an EMF will be induced in the conductor. So that is used in the DC machines. So that to induce the EMF, we need a conductor and we need a field and we need the relative motion. Therefore, to induce the EMF, we need first one conductor system called as armature in electrical engineering, armature, and field system. So that means we need the poles, right, and relative motion. Between 1 and 2. So relative motion between the conductor and the field. So it may be conductor rotating or it may be field rotating. So we need the relative motion between the three. Right. So this is the Faraday's first law. Right. So please note down. We will continue. So this is the Faraday's first law. So now we'll discuss the Faraday's second law also. So the Faraday's second law says that the magnitude of induced EMF is always proportional to rate of change of flux linkages. Rate of change of flux linkages. So how much flux is linking with the coil, based on that one the EMF will be depending on. That means the EMF induced E is always proportional to d psi by dt, where psi is flux linkages. Psi is nothing but the flux linkages. So you can write it as E is equivalent to n into d phi by dt, or otherwise E is equivalent to d into n phi by dt. Therefore, E is equivalent to n in d phi by dt, where n is the number of turns, or we can write it as t phi. T is turns. So for single turn it is equivalent to d phi by dt. For multi turns is equivalent to t into d phi by dt. But we can represent, but according to Lenz's law, E can be represented as, or E can be represented as minus n into d phi by dt. E is equivalent to minus n into d phi by dt. The minus because the induced quantity always opposes the very cause which produces it. The induced quantity always opposes the very cause which produces it. Right, so the induced EMF always E equivalent to minus t into d phi by dt, minus t into d phi by dt, and minus sign is because of the induced quantity always opposes the very cause which is producing it. That's what happening here. So this is the Faraday's second law. So Faraday's first law says that to induce the EMF we need conductor system and field system and the relative motion, and the second law says that so the magnitude of induced EMF always proportional to rate of change of flux linkages. This is the Faraday's law. Now according to this, if you place a conductor and if you move the conductor in the stationary magnetic field, an EMF will be induced in the conductor. So we will see that one. Let me change this. So let it be the north pole. Let it be the south pole. So we are having a north pole here. So this is the north pole and this will be the south pole. So between north pole and south pole there will be a flux which is flowing from north pole to south pole always. And we are placing a conductor, a stationary conductor initially, so in between these. This is the conductor which is placed in the magnetic field. right? So let the flux density is B is the flux density, and the active length of the conductor between the flux. So this is the active length BL, right? Now we are moving the conductor in the upward direction, it's like this, upward and downward direction. So that let this conductor has been moved like this, so that the next position of this conductor will be here, right? So that it has moved a distance of x. Or let it be dx, small distance. So we are moving the conductor in the upward and downward direction, so that the area covered by the conductor in the time dt, the area covered by the conductor in time dt is length into the distance, so it will be is equivalent to L into dx, that is the area. So what is the flux density? Is flux per area, not B by, it is phi by A, B is equivalent to phi by A. Therefore what is phi? Phi is equivalent to B into area, so that B into L into dx, B into L into dx. Therefore as it is a single conductor, as there are no number of turns, we are having a single conductor, therefore induced EMF is equivalent to d phi by dt, so which is nothing but d by dt of BL into dx, so which is nothing but BL into dx by dt, BL into dx by dt. So if you consider this as x, you will get x dx by dt, or as it is small d, so no need to write it as dx, right, d square x, so that BL into dx by dt. So what is that B dx by dt? Rate of change of distance with respect to time, so it will be velocity. Therefore the EMF induced E is equivalent to B into L into V. So if you are having any confusion here, so take it as the distance moved by the conductor is x, so that it will be L into x, so that here it will be BL into x, so that it will be BL into x, therefore BL into dx by dt. So the quantity which is varying is B is constant flux, constant length, and x is continuously varying, so that B into L into dx by dt, so that E is equivalent to B into L into V. So where B is flux density and L is active length of the conductor, and V is the velocity. V is the velocity. Suppose we are not moving the conductor in the vertically upward and downward direction, suppose we are moving the conductor in the rotating motion. So if the conductor is moving in a circular manner, then so it will make some angle with respect to the reference, so that angle will be theta, therefore we can make it as E is equivalent to B into L into V into sin theta. So that is the induced EMF. So this induced EMF is called as the dynamically induced EMF. This induced EMF is called as the dynamically induced EMF, and this induced EMF is E is equivalent to statically induced EMF. That means EMF induced in a single conductor is nothing but the dynamically induced EMF. So EMF induced in the total number of turns, that in a coil, EMF induced in a big coil is nothing but the statically induced EMF, right? So please note down, we'll continue. So that is the EMF induced in a single conductor. So now we will replace single conductor with a two conductor system, so and make it as a loop, and we will try to rotate that one, so that we simply call it as a simple loop generator. Simple loop generator. So for the simple loop generator, so we need the field system. So this is the north pole we are having. Let me draw somewhat bigger. So this is the north pole. This will be the south pole. So this is the shaft. So we are going to rotate this one like this, so that we are going to rotate the total system like this. And here we are having two conductors. So this is the conductor AB, and it is conductor CD. So these two are joined together. So here you have the slip rings. And it is welded here, and it is welded here, and here have one brush to connect it to the external circuit. This is the load. Right. So this is the conductor AB and this is the conductor CD. So this is the slot 1 and this is slot 2. This is brush 1 and this is brush 2. And the load terminals are L and M. Load terminals are L and M. So now we are rotating the conductor in a stationary magnetic field. The magnetic field is flowing in this direction, north pole to the south pole. Right. So that is the field movement from north pole to the south pole. So whenever a conductor is rotated, EMF will be induced in the conductor AB as well as conductor CD. To find the direction of induced EMF, in which direction the induced EMF is created in the conductor, will be given by the Fleming's right hand rule. Direction of induced EMF in a generator will be given by Fleming's right hand rule. Fleming's right hand rule. So according to Fleming's right hand rule, so it says that the forefinger denotes the direction of flux. The direction of flux. So in which direction the flux is moving? So according to Faraday's right hand rule, the forefinger denotes the direction of flux. The thumb denotes the direction of rotation. So in which direction you are rotating the conductor, so that will be given by the thumb. So as this conductor is moving upward and this conductor is moving downward, this conductor is moving upward, so that show it as downward. As it is moving downward, so show it as downward. So the total simple loop, so this is the total simple loop. So we are moving upward, total it is moving upward. So if you are having two conductors like this, so when you are rotating this one, so this total system will be moving like this, right? So that one conductor is moving upward and one conductor is moving downward. So show upward conductor as with thumb upward and show downward conductor as thumb downward, right? And the middle finger denotes the direction of induced EMF or current. The direction of induced EMF or current. So according to that, so show the forefinger in this direction in conductor AB. Conductor AB is moving upward direction, conductor CD is moving in the downward direction. So that, so forefinger denotes the direction of flux, this is the direction of flux, and the thumb denotes the direction of rotation of the conductor, and the middle finger denotes the direction of induced EMF. So that in conductor AB the current is moving inward direction, right? So that we need to show inward direction and outward direction in the board. So that So we are having two notations. One notation is dot and one notation is cross. Dot means whenever an arrow is coming towards you. So whenever an arrow coming towards you, you are able to see the dot. So that when you are seeing the dot means the arrow is coming towards you. So when it is coming towards you means it is coming out of the board. So that dot means so coming out of the board, right? And whereas when an arrow moving out of you, whenever an arrow is moving out of you, so that you are able to see the back part of the arrow, so that back part of the arrow is the cross mark. So that when it is coming out of you means it is moving into the board, going into the board. Going into the board. So that dot means coming out of the board, cross means going into the board. Now, so we are having a dot current. Why? Because here, so this is the direction of flux and this is the direction of induced EMF, and middle finger denotes it is going inward. Inward means it will be cross. So that the direction of induced EMF or current in conductor AB, it will be cross. And what happens in conductor CD? So when conductor AB is moving upward direction, conductor CD is moving downward direction, but there is no change in the direction of flux, so that the flux is moving in the same direction, and but the conductor is moving in the downward direction, and the middle finger denotes the direction of induced EMF. So the middle finger denotes the direction of induced EMF, so that it is coming towards you. So when it is coming towards you, so it is coming out of the board, it will be dot. So that the nature of induced EMF in conductor AB, it will be cross, and the nature of induced EMF in conductor CD, it will be dot. So that we can make one notation that, so cross means in the upward direction, so cross means in the upward direction, and dot means in the downward direction. So you can change this one. If it is upward, then it will be downward. So I am showing this as upward direction and I am showing this as the downward direction. So therefore, so cross means I am showing it as the upward direction, so that the direction of induced EMF in conductor AB, it will be moving in the upward direction, and whereas in conductor CD, it is moving in the downward direction. So remember, we can show it as this is upward and this is downward also. So the EMF induced in conductor AB, it is moving from A to B, right? So that the current starts moving from A to B and then B to D. So I am writing the path. So it is moving from A to B and then B to D and then D to C and then C to S2 and S2 to B2 and B2 to M and M to L and L to B1 and B1 to S1 and S1 to A. So that this is the loop. So that A to B, B to D and D to C, C to S2, S2 to B2 and B2 to M, M to L, L to B1, B1 to S1 and S1 to A. So this is the path. So that if you see in conductor AB, the current is moving from A to B, and in the load, the current is moving from M to L. So this is the load current or load EMF, and this is the conductor. So the EMF in the conductor is moving from A to B, and the EMF in the conductor in the load is moving from M to L. So we will take after half rotation. So that means after half rotation means, so if you take this conductor, so complete rotation means 360 degrees. This is the 180 degrees, and 360 degrees means again this conductor will move to the same position, right? So after 180 degrees means conductor CD will move this side and conductor AB will move this side. So that let me take, so this is the conductor, right? So this is the conductor AB and this is the conductor CD. So that after half rotation, so it will move like this one. Clear? So that this will move to this side and this will move to this side. So at that position, so you have to see, right? So please note down this one and we will continue. So we'll see the after half rotation. So here you have the north pole. Here you have the south pole, and in between you have the loop. So we are rotating the shaft in this direction, that therefore the total loop will move in this direction. That is the direction of rotation. So here we have the conductor CD now. And here we have the conductor AB. So these two are joined together. Slip rings, right? So remember, these are slip rings and these are brushes. This is also the brush. These are the brushes. So this is the shaft. These are the conductors and these are the poles. So here you have brush 1. Brush 2. Conductor CD is joined to brush 2, segment 2. Conductor AB is joined for brush 1. Right? So the flux is moving from north pole to the south pole again. Right. So this is brush B1 and this is brush B2. So this is the slot 1 and this is the slot 2. So brushes are stationary, there is no movement in the brushes, but the slip rings will move their position. So according to Faraday's laws, whenever you are rotating this conductor, so this is the point M and this is point L. So in the next half, after half rotation, see here, so this one after half rotation, so this conductor will move again upward and this conductor will move again downward. So why? Because we are rotating the conductor in the same direction continuously, so that conductor CD will move in the upward direction, conductor AB will move in the downward direction. So when conductor CD is moving in the upward direction, so this is the direction of flux and CD will move in the upward direction. The nature of induced EMF in conductor CD will be in the inward direction. So that according to that, so the EMF here it will be cross and AB will move in the downward direction. So this is the direction of flux and this is the direction of rotation and this is the direction of induced EMF. So that in conductor AB, so it is coming towards you, so that it will be dot. So that we have given for cross, it will be in the upward direction. So it will be cross in the upward direction. And for the dot in the downward direction. Dot in the downward direction. So that the current starts from C to D. In the conductor CD, it is flowing from C to D. So let me write the path. So it is moving from C to D and D to B and B to A and A2 to S1, A to S1 and S1 to B1 and B1 to L and L to M and M to B2 and B2 to S2 and S2 to C again. So that where you have started, at C you have started, and again we have to end at C. So that from C to D, D to B, B to A2 to S1, A to S1, S1 to B1 and B1 to L, L to M and M to B2, B2 to S2 and S2 to L, S2 to C. So this is the path. So now if you see in conductor AB, in the first half rotation it is moving from A to B, and in the second half rotation it is moving from B to A, right? And whereas in the load, in the first half rotation it is moving from M to L, and in the second half rotation it is moving from L to M, So that if we draw the waveform, the EMF induced in the conductor for the first half rotation, if it is positive, so it is moving from A to B. In the second half rotation it is moving from B to A. So this is the EMF induced in the conductor. And similarly, if you draw the waveform for the load, so first half cycle it is moving from L to M, not L to M, it is from M to L. And in the second half it will be moving from L to M. So that the nature of induced EMF in the conductor, the nature of EMF induced in the conductors AB and CD, it will be always in the alternating in nature. So in the first half cycle it is moving in one direction, in the second half cycle it is moving in the other direction. And similarly, the nature of induced EMF that the load is getting is also alternating. In the first half cycle it is moving from M to L, and in the second half cycle it is moving from L to M, right? So please note down. So we'll take a short break and then we'll meet again.